Test, 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 test. Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Hey everybody! Hey everybody! What's up? We have a couple things to talk about today, as it was the NHL trade deadline that just passed, and it was the NFL transaction, or the free agency that just passed. I was on the transactions page. That's why the word got stuck in my head. So let's just get on into it. So right now, obviously, I'm going to start with the Patriots because this is a Patriots and Bruins page right now. But at the end of the day, I don't really care what I talk about because it's my podcast. So right now, we have some kind of just kind of couple small names. Ezekiel Elliott has not yet. They haven't. Maybe they haven't offered him a contract. Maybe he doesn't want to come back. I mean, he did good for that 1 year. So we'll see what happens. Mike Gesicki was signed by the Bengals for 1 year. That's not that big because they did get Hunter Henry back, re-signed for 3 years, which is pretty good because I think he's 27 or 29, somewhere there. So I think this will give him 3 years to potentially find another one, and if he does great, then sign him to another 3 years. If he doesn't do that great, then you have him for only 3 years, and it's not that much. Oh, shoot. Sorry about that. That was actually an important reminder. and nicely, they transition tagged Kyle Duggar for 1 year. I think this might be Kyle Duggar's last season with the Patriots because he hasn't done that good, but he hasn't not done that good. He's kind of just stuck in the middle of trying to figure out what he wants to do, which kind of sucks for the Patriots because they're trying to move forward with a lot of things. They want to move forward, and they kind of want guys to either be amazing and re-sign them or to be crap and not re-sign them. The issue with franchising him is now they can't franchise tag anybody else, which now looking at this list, I don't think there will be that many other guys they want to franchise tag. So they did actually re-sign Nathan Roque. He was just a depth quarterback. That's fine. I was really hoping we actually got to keep Mac Wilson, but again, the Patriots are trying to get younger. They're trying to do that youth movement. Which was nice that they re-signed Josh Ucho because he's only 25, and they signed him to a 1 year. A lot of these contracts, besides Hunter Henry's, are pretty much all 1 year. Or transition. Besides Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry, they're the only two guys that were signed to a 3-year contract. I personally wouldn't have signed Kendrick Bourne, but maybe he did better than we all assume. Maybe they liked him better. Maybe he'll have a way better season. And let's say he has a bad season. He's only signed for 3 years. But yeah, there's not really much to talk about. I'm hoping they re-sign Jennings. Yeah, these are just the free agents. They did sign some other guys. I'm surprised that it wasn't in this list, but we'll actually go to the NFL transactions. So Dante Jackson, the other Dante Johnson was traded. Oh, that's funny. I didn't even put two and two together. They traded Dante Johnson for Dante Jackson. Mills got signed, Powell, Josie Jewell. This one is actually kind of interesting because I thought the Washington Commanders would want a little bit of more of a youth transition. Jeremy Chen is young, I think, but I mean it's only a 1 year, so we'll see. Not much. Okay, that's weird. Devontae Parker has officially left the Patriots because they did cut him, which was fine. Devontae Parker didn't really do well, but it's ironic that he went back to the Eagles. Josh Ucho. Dante Fowler, I was really hoping that the Patriots, because they even came out and said in Mayo's first press conference as GM, he was like, "We have money and we're gonna spend it," and now we're kind of on day two of free agency, and they haven't really spent it. They've just re-signed people, but maybe that was his intent. Was like, we're gonna re-sign guys now, then we're gonna use the money. I feel like he should have clarified that though, because there is a lot of fans who wanted them to come out swinging and sign a bunch of people, Calvin Ridley or there was another guy, Dante Fowler, just a couple other guys, Patrick Queen. Like there was a lot of guys that they, in me included, wanted them to sign just to really help that rebuild. But I think, and somebody did say it, is they don't want to spend money just because, which is actually a good thing to think about. Like, I wouldn't want to be a new GM and just spend a bunch of money just just because I have the money. If it glitched out there for a second, that was probably because this ad turned back on. But my internet's a little slow right now. I just discovered that before starting this. But on this, back to this list, it actually shows that the three signings that the Patriots did make. There might be more, but I'm pretty sure it was just these three. So they signed Antonio Gibson, who I think he's 25, 24, so that's actually a nice kind of depth running back. He's not like an amazing player, but honestly, I liked him in Washington. I really liked him. He was kind of an underrated player, so I think this might work out in the Patriots' favor. And then they signed. Somebody said his name earlier, and I think it's Taki. Again, he's just a depth guy. I do remember this name just because it's kind of a hard name not to remember. And then the Patriots technically re-signed, brought back Jacoby Brissett. So I think that kind of means they're probably going to draft a quarterback, because in bigger news, they traded Mac Jones for a 6th round pick, which a lot of people were surprised they got even that much value for him. I forget where he went. Oh, the Jaguars. So he's just going to be the backup to Trevor Lawrence. Which I highly doubt the Jaguars would trade Trevor Lawrence. But I mean, you never know. A lot of transactions have happened right before free agency. Like Russell Wilson was cut, and then picked up by the Steelers, and then obviously Mac Jones, and then there was just a lot more signings that happened right before. Derrick Henry went to the Ravens. I just saw that today actually, because it happened today. These are all today. Burnett, Guzlick, Jameson Winston. That's really funny. Oh no, that's funny. They signed him and then they released him. That's interesting. Marcus Mariota went to Washington. That's cool. Derek Wyatt retired from football. I mean, sure. I didn't really remember his name. Aaron Jones went to the Vikings. A lot of running backs have switched teams. Zach Allen was the guy that I wanted the Patriots to get. Same thing with Jones, I believe, or maybe there was another Jones. But a lot of guys switched. Like I said, a lot of running backs switched teams. Figured Fred Warner was gonna stay. Zach Moss, Jalen Rieger signed for 1 year. Harrison. So we'll see way more transactions in the future, but right now I think a majority. Oh, and they re-signed an Onu. I'm surprised he wasn't on that list before. But the interesting thing with the Bills right now is they've cut a lot of people, so they must be wanting to use that cap money for something else. What that is exactly, we have no idea. Yeah, and I'll just go over to the transactions of Boston because it was the deadline. And just I was informed yesterday that they recalled John Beecher, and I really hope they. I don't think they're gonna keep him up, but I think they're trying to get that toughness, and I think they're trying to see his toughness before the playoffs, because I think you can bring a guy into the playoffs, but then it takes away one of his years, or maybe you can bring him in for free. I kind of forget that rule. Mark McLaughlin, I mean, he was a good player, nice depth. He was doing good there for a bit, and then kind of fell off. He is 25, so that is kind of the issue. That the more he doesn't play good, the less he might get that back. Mason Lorai has been an amazing addition. They've sent him up and brought him down and sorry, they've sent him down and brought him up. I don't know why I said that backwards. But surprisingly, he's been consistent every time he's been brought up. So I honestly think next year they're going to keep him up. Because every time they've brought him up, he's been very consistent, and at least he hasn't had his name read too much, like causing a tripping call or causing a goal or just getting in the way of somebody, which is nice. And then right here, they traded for Pat Maroon, just because the whole thing with Lucic, which he did actually get the charges dropped, which thankfully, but we won't truly know. I mean, I'm all for the victim, because I don't want to have happened. I don't. What I don't want to have happened was they just kind of throw it under the rug and then she gets paid off or something like that. I'm really hoping that wasn't what happened, but maybe Lucic didn't do it. We don't truly know, but maybe unfairly to him, maybe not unfairly. I think he's officially done in the NHL, which it's a very unfortunate. He's 35, so I think he was kind of done anyways. But that's why they traded for Pat Maroon. They traded Luke Topolowski. I do remember when they drafted him. He was a late round pick anyways. And people complained about that. It's like, well, he was probably just gonna get cut anyways. And Pat Maroon is there to just be that Lucic. He's probably not gonna score a goal, but you never know. Like he's basically just there to be that big body guy. And then Pelko Witherspoon has actually been very good, surprisingly, as like a depth guy with Mason Lorai. I believe that's who he's playing with. Brazier, again, he's just a depth guy, but he plays good when he's up, but like it's not that big of a move. And then they traded for Andre Peak, and they traded Jacob Zabor in a third round, which is kind of a big deal because the third round pick is a decently high pick, but Jacob Zabor, I thought he was doing pretty good, but maybe not. Maybe I didn't hear his name a lot. And then Derek Forbett, he's still on injury reserve. Mike Bethot, Anthony Richards, again just a depth guy. Lindholm is still currently injured, I think. Yeah, pretty much just sending people up and placing people down. Matthew Portis, unfortunately, did get injured at the end of January, and he's still out. I think he is going to be officially out, if I remember correctly. Let me just see. I think he is going to be out for the whole season. Oh, yeah, I heard about that where he elbowed, Matt Wemp elbowed somebody. But the issue with Matthew Portis is he was playing great. Like, he was playing, like, decently good. Where's his... Oh, I guess he only has one. He had 15 points in 33 games. That's pretty good. Like, he had a plus-minus rating of... where is it? I just saw it. I have no idea. I could have sworn I just saw that. It usually shows. Oh, that's cool. They're making a good burger, too. I never saw the first one, but... yeah, so I hope he comes back, because he was a good player for us, and I really enjoyed having him on the team, because he was just a nice youthful injection to the team. But that is the thing I'm noticing with Boston is they are getting more youthful and more young. They don't really have the picks, but they're not just going straight for like the veteran player. They're using that veteran player as depth. So we'll see what happens for there. If I'm remembering off Jesus, if I'm remembering off the top of my head any bigger signings, I'll go back to this list. Uh, I don't think so. Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think. But now the other topic I wanted to talk about was the college football is making a return, and I wanted to talk about that because I'm very excited about the return of this game. I just hope, and a lot of people hope, that it's not just a money grab and it's not just a reskin of Madden. Because if it's a reskin of Madden, I'll just download a mod for the game. Like it'll be the exact same. Though, in good news, the people who worked on the original one in 2014 are working on this one. So there is hope that it is going to be a better game, and it does have double the download than Madden has. So that's another good sign that they're adding a bunch of these things in the game. But then it just makes me want to talk about the other games. I haven't played an NHL video game in like 4 years, but I love playing the NHL video games. They're my favorite. But I haven't played them because the game is the exact same, and that's my issue with a lot of these companies. Is I get you can't add every single thing in the game, but at least add some things every year to change up the game. You gotta add things to have, but that's the issue. Is people have gotten so used to this that they'll just keep buying the game and not caring. They'll keep paying for the microtransactions. They'll keep paying for the hut. It's the same thing with all of the sports games, the baseball, the FIFA, the Madden. I now am looking, and that's maybe an issue on my part, but I'm now looking at every single sports game that comes out. I'm watching videos, I'm doing this. I used to be a dedicated fan that every single time the game came out, I would buy it. Didn't matter. One of the three: Madden, NFL, or NHL. Oh, sorry, Madden, baseball, or NHL. I'd buy all three sometimes. But now I'm actually watching people play the game. But the other issue that they're now wanting to do is the companies are complaining that $90 is too low for a video game. How is that too low? $90 is way too high for a video game. But the issue is people are willing to pay it, and if people are willing to pay it, then they're gonna keep it at the price. If let's say 10 people um, are told to buy a video game, and 9 of them buy it at the $90 value, that one person has to buy it at the $90 value. But if 9 people want to buy it at $10, the game company has to be like, well, okay, there's nothing else we can do. We need to make that money, and they're now getting rid of disc. They're wanting to get rid of discs in the future. But the issue with that is the reason why a lot of people bought digital games is because the price was set at $80 or whatever it was before. Now they've added tax onto those games, so you buying a game online versus buying a game in person, it's the exact same price, even though you're skipping the middleman and you're skipping the making of the disc and the making of the case. You don't need any of that. You don't need the cover. You don't need like a disc. What game companies are doing is they're getting more money in their pockets at the discretion of us, the fans. They're making it worse for us, so that one day they can be like, oh well, we don't want to sell this game and then just take it from our systems. I actually had that happen to me technically. I pre-ordered the Last of Us 2 remaster game because I'm a big fan, so that's the one game that I'll buy without hesitation. I get it's still a remaster and it's kind of all the same, but that's fine. That's my choice. But the day before, I had a friend coming over and we're both big fans and we were gonna play it together. And the day before they came over, I went to go make sure it was all downloaded and all good, and I was wondering where it went. And then I looked at the store and realized I was given my money back, thankfully. I was given my money back, and they were actually supposed to sell it at a cheaper price because I think everybody complained that it's just a remaster. Why is it $90? That's the other thing, is why was it $90 initially? But people complained and then they changed it. It's the same thing with the Sonic movie. When they had that god awful looking Sonic, everybody complained and were like, well, we're not going to buy a ticket to the movie if it looks this crappy. And so the movie company was like, well, if you're not going to buy a ticket, then we'll bow down to your demands. But that's the issue with sports games, is they're not going to change it if nobody says anything. That's the issue with streamers. Like, I'm a streamer. I stream games all the time, but um, I don't. I won't just buy the game. But the issue too is most of those streamers are getting the game bought for them and then giving their like honest review. And why I put quotations is I get you kind of have to be a little nice to the sponsor, but I would probably give my honest review so that the game can actually change. Specifically with NHL, the Be a Pro mode has not been touched, has not been has not been changed, has not been altered in like 3 years. I watched somebody play it when last year's first came out, and he went to be a pro, and it was the exact same thing, same color, same everything, same yada yada. Like, most games try and get away with it by just like throwing a cloth over it and be like, yeah, it's cosmetically different. It's like, okay, but how do I actually? How can you actually change the game? There's nothing about the game that is actually different. But somebody did say an important thing, which kind of counter counter counters what I've been saying, is if you do enjoy the game, then buy it. And I think that's what I will do with the NHL game, because now it's been a couple years and more things has been added. But a good example is if you look at the WWE games, they took a year off. And everybody, I think it was 23 or 22, it was 22, yeah. Everybody hated WWE 22 because it was like a shell of what it should be. And then they took a year off, and 23 came out, and I played it, and I haven't played it in a while. And I was like, wow, this is actually like really fun. Like, there's still, it's not exactly like real WWE, which is ironic to say. Um, but again, I get you can't add every single thing into the game, but at least add one major change every year. One major change is all I'm asking. I get you have to take some things out to add new things. That's fine, but just add different things so it's not the exact same game. I remember buying a baseball one of the baseball games, and then having a lot of fun with it, and then watching somebody play the next one. I was like, okay, I'll buy this one. I downloaded it, started playing. I'm like, this is literally the exact same game. I just paid $80 for the same, and then I never played it again. I just wasted $80. But game companies want us to spend more money, and that's not even including like the special the whatever it's called, like buying the out for the game and buying just the extra stuff for the game. That's a different story. Basically, that's like $130 to $200. They want us to spend that much on a game because they think $90 is too less. If I get worried when I have to pay more than 100, I get worried when I have to pay more than 70. Like, the games used to be $79.99, and that was the price you were paying on the store, because you were cutting a lot of things out of the factory. You didn't have to pay a lot of people. But now they're basically just trying to save themselves money while at the cost of the fans, and we have to spend more for them to save more. Like, that doesn't make any sense for us, but fans will just kind of accept it. They'll be like, okay, I guess this is the way it is. But they don't realize that if they don't buy it, that company's not going to sell that game, and that company's probably not going to do that again. I get not everybody agrees on the same favorite game, and everybody has opinions about yada yada. That's fine. But at least speak up about the games that you like and about the games that you dislike. But to just go back to my original point, I am very much looking forward to the NCAA game coming out. And why it took so long is because they had to make a deal of like real players, because there was that whole thing of them not paying players, and then the players got ripped off and said, well, we don't want to be a part of the game. But at that point, it does seem weird of why they didn't just initially pay the players, because they pay them in NHL and Madden and MLB and UFC and all of those games. I don't know why this was different. I think because there's way more players on a NCAA football team, and obviously all of the schools. Um, but like I said, I'm very much looking forward to the game. I really hope it's not a reskin. I don't think it will be, but I honestly want change for all of the games. And my one complaint is, I get it's different studios and that's fine, but there's certain elements and game modes and whatever in the other games that would make way more sense in added to other games, not taken away from the original game, just added to that game. The best drafting system is in the baseball game. It takes it takes no time at all to scout and draft, and when you sim through the whole when so I sim through most of the games, and when you do that, you can easily get through like 4 years. But when you scout in the NHL games, it takes forever, because you have to individually click the names, and then you scout for a week, and then or you scout for like 2 weeks, and then you have to individually click the names. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand why the game companies don't talk and say, hey, you have the best scouting, can we use what you do in our game? Sure. Do we have to pay you a little bit extra money? That's fine. Just game companies are being really cheap. But that's an interesting thing for me to say, because I went to school for video game design. I do understand how much work, how many hours, how many people work on a video game for very minimal effect. And I get they want people to like their games, and I get you can't add every single thing into the game, but at least listen to the fans. At least add things to the game. I remember why I didn't buy, one of the main reasons why I didn't buy, I think last year's or the year before, NHL game, because the big news was they added custom leagues. It's like nobody asked for that, and everybody can already do that now. You just made it more official, but that was it. That was all you added to that. So I'm really hoping that this game will add something different to them. It might not, but here's hoping. And one last thought, I kind of assumed that, well, not assumed, that's the wrong word. I kind of wanted the Be a Pro modes to be like choose your own adventure type books, where it's not really like an open world type of a way, like the basketball game, where you just kind of play the games. I think it should be more like you get to choose what happens to your character. So like maybe you can choose like a path, and they did actually have this before for the NFL games, where you can start as like a really low draft pick, but your potential is really high, or you can start as a high draft pick, but your potential is kind of low. But I was kind of hoping that the Be a Pro would be more a simulation based and choice based, rather than, okay, here's a player, go play as them. It's like, well, I could kind of already do that in franchise. I could just lock onto a player, change his name and change his attributes, and boom. I get you don't get to do the draft. Well, I mean, you still could. You could still do the draft and get drafted, but then I would hope that it would be more like simulation based, so that maybe you're running down you caught the ball and you're running down, and you have one of two choices, and on the left side it says 20% chance of getting a touchdown, or and then or like an 80% chance of or like a 50% chance of getting a touchdown and 50% chance of getting injured, and you're like, okay, that's high risk, high reward, or a 80% chance of getting a first down and 20% chance of like fumbling the ball. So you're like, okay, that's low risk, high reward, low risk, and it would be cool that if you could do stuff like that instead of what we have now, which is basically just choosing a player or making a player, customizing him, and then playing for like a couple seasons, and then that's it. The one thing I will admit that I like in the NHL Be a Pro is that was actually important. Whoops. Is you have to play the game. You have to play several seasons to unlock certain features, which makes sense. But there's nothing else to do. You kind of just load it up. You play the preseason or whatever, and then there's no interviews or like side events. There's no games. There's just, okay, here you go, play. But that's just kind of boring. But I'll end it there because I'm a little past the 30 minutes. But that's my video game rant. If you guys have any favorite video games that you'd want me to play, I do sometimes stream. I'm trying to get back into it. I just streamed Baldur's Gate 3. I'm trying to get back into that. But if there's a game you want me to play, or if there's a movie you want me to watch, I'm a big movies guy. I love watching. I can do reviews. I do some reviews on my TikTok. My TikTok, I think, is just my name, Scotty General. My YouTube is SGen Productions. My something else that I was about to say and totally forgot. But yeah. Oh yeah. And an added note here. I hope this is true. I hope they make Little Nicky too, because I love the first one. Adam Sandler is one of my favorites, just like goofy actors. But yeah, for now.